Good. Well, this good afternoon, everybody. Like it's been a minute since we've been on here, so we gotta get used to the swing of things. But like I said, welcome to everybody. We're gonna talk about you have value too. That's the topic for today. I am Terrence Johnson, the life excavator,
I'm Kendrick, the Life Doctor.
and I said, yeah, I know y'all haven't seen us in a while. We still in the land of the living. So, but we wanted to have a conversation because it's beneficial to have topics where you talk about things that's beneficial to people. So we hope this conversation we had today is beneficial to you too. So what we're talking about today is you have value too. So I guess I'll start off with asking Kendrick, what does value mean to you, or having value in yourself mean to you?
I think so. Value for me it is recognizing who I am, is recognizing what my purpose is recognizing what I have to offer people, how I connect with people, and so what I'm doing to help myself be better, help others be better, but also um, imparting the information and knowledge that I have to help bridge the gap with the people that want to move forward in their lives, but also people that want to heal from whatever struggles or challenges they may have. And so I guess the main thing I want to see to do is I want to show people what their value is by helping them recognize the path or the journey they've been on.
Yeah. So I got to follow. So have you always kind of known your value, or was it a time where like you didn't understand it to what the same way you know it now?
Oh, so honestly, I didn't recognize my true value till I probably maybe 31 or 32. I'm 40 now, so 31, 32 is when I really started to tap into who I was, but also um, I stopped being afraid to be me and to speak my truth. And in speaking your truth, some people will connect with it and some people won't.
Yeah.
But I think we have so many imposters running around today, and people are afraid to speak who they are. That's part of the dissatisfaction with a lot of people in the world today.
Okay. All right. So um, I guess we see a lot of stuff online, and people, you scrolling, you seeing what other people doing, and it's easy to compare yourself to a lot of people. I know for me, that's why I try and limit how much I'm on social media, because it's easy to get pulled into it. Even if it's something good, like you can look at someone like, man, they doing good, but I'm not doing what they doing, or
Yeah.
I wish I could do it like they doing it, or whatever. So it's like, well, how do you still navigate in the world and still not feel like you're not doing enough, just being you? I guess that's the way.
No, that makes sense. So comparison to me robs people of their true self because, and me and you have talked about it before. And I said if we spend most of our lives looking out of windows or
Yeah,
looking out of glasses, and one of the things we've talked about before, if we spent more time looking in the mirror, which is internal, instead of external, we wouldn't see what everybody else is doing and we'll stay true to what we were designed to do. But because we look out of windows and glasses, we always try to reshape our trajectory, and that a lot of times get us off course, and that allows us sometimes to be connected with the false self instead of the true self.
yeah, yeah. It's kind of like you got. I don't know why, but it made me think. I guess because I'm thinking about food and stuff. But you know how you had like the name brand, and then you kind of had like the knockoff.
Generic, yeah.
So you had, people that know, great value, you got great value brand, and then you got like the more national brands and stuff like that. And sometimes we kind of, you know, I guess dilute ourselves or not be our full value self, like our
Yeah.
full.
No, that's a good word. I think you need to go deeper with. people diluting themselves, so watering down themselves.
Yeah. Okay. So just like, you know, with things, I guess it's easy to water yourself down when you're in environments that don't recognize your value too. So sometimes we can get smaller, not necessarily because we want to, is when we try and be ourselves in certain environments, then it puts a target on us.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, why do you have to do that? And why are you saying this? And you come with all these ideas. And so it's like, man, I just want to, help, and I want to do things where I think is beneficial. But sometimes you're in an environment that won't let you be you like you want to. And so I think that's why some people it's easier to water themselves down because they've been in environments where they had to do that so long that they
yeah,
don't know that real version of themselves. Not that they don't want it, it's like the environment doesn't want them to be that because they like them that watered down version. And so I think that's something that we have to be mindful of. It's like over our lifespan, it's stuff that we enjoy doing, but we had so many people say stuff to us and tell us what we can't do and what we're not gonna do and all that kind of stuff. And you start to believe that. And then you start to like make yourself smaller and smaller. And then you look up and like, man, it's not where I want to be. Like this is not the life I thought I was gonna have or even wanted. And so I think that's what get people into that kind of trap. It's like it works. Some of our environment work when we smaller,
yeah.
not that we want to be smaller.
And like I said, for a large portion of the population wants to blend in,
Yeah,
and most people don't want to stand out because when you stand out, sometimes you're unique, and sometimes you may be ahead of the times. And standing out, you can get weird looks, and
yeah,
so most of the time people try to blend in, and sometimes when they mature emotionally or mentally, and it's no set age for emotional maturity or mental maturity or relational maturity. Sometimes it happens in people's 30s, sometimes it happens in their 40s, sometimes it don't happen until their 50s. If you're lucky, you catch on in your 20s, but people want to conform most of the time, and just to get along, instead of really doing what they think in their mind or think in their head, and finding a path to creating it. And i've
yeah.
been i've been reading this book, shifting to a higher gear,
Hmm.
and one of the things that the author talks about, Delatorio McNeil, is he talks about fear and faith. And he always talked about, fear is, typically what stops us from taking the next level.
Hmm.
Faith is typically what motivates us and inspires us. So he was saying every time we get hung up on doing something, that's fear. And fear can be in the context of anxiety. It can be in the context of other challenges. But
Hmm.
most of the time when we stop or we get stagnant, is more about fear instead of faith. Because faith allows you to sometimes be reckless and just, put all you have into it.
Yeah,
Fear, is a learned helplessness. And so we typically stop doing things because of how other people may perceive it. And so if we learn to shrug off fear and step towards faith, um, we really, start tapping into a part of ourselves that are unrecognizable. And I think we need to tap in parts of ourselves that's unrecognizable to us, because then we're growing. If we only stay in the comfort zone, we only can, go so far.
yeah. No, that so I had wrote that down. We talk about fear versus faith, and one thing I thought about a different angle to you have value is that your what you think that are your failures, those are valuable to you too. So a lot of the things that we go through, like the bad parts of our life, we don't want to discuss with other people or let other people know that we went through harder times. But what I've learned, and just from connecting to different people and doing that, is the stuff I share about my real life and just where I'm at with certain things. that's the most valuable thing that people get from you. They like it's not necessarily like what I say, but how sometimes I can let myself be vulnerable and say like what's really going on or an experience I had and just let people know about that because that's the thing that connects people to you. People care less about what degrees you got and where you live at and what kind of car you got. Like people don't care about that. Some people do, but the people that's really concerned about real stuff, they don't care about that. They want to care about who you are as a person, not necessarily what you do. And that's a distinction because a lot of people get value mixed up in what they do and the money that they got and the title that they got. And that doesn't make you valuable. Who you are as a person makes you valuable. The other stuff is just extensions of that. So I think that's another place that people can gain value from is that part. Is
Yeah.
the
No,
thing that
that's huge. And so being real is what most people are afraid to do.
yeah,
Because being real, that's no junk food conversations. That's being honest about your vulnerabilities, and in your vulnerabilities, there's strength. But most people don't talk about what they struggle with, and
yeah,
that's why they keep struggling with it.
yeah,
You know, if we only felt empowered to talk about our struggles, we wouldn't have so many people like suffering in silence and people afraid, to talk about, losses, talking about, what's keeping them stuck. I get more from people, you know, by telling them about my failures than I could ever
mhm,
tell them about my successes
yeah,
because I learned to change my strategy from my failure. Now, if I keep the same posture and do the same thing, then I'm not learning. But if I fail in one area, then I reset and try a different method and it worked. That's me resetting and coming up with a different strategy based off what I, experienced and based off, my encounters. And
yeah,
so I'm pretty transparent about whatever I struggle with because, I mean, at 40, I mean, I'm not at a point where I really care about what others think about me or how others perceive me because it's not that I'm above people or I'm beneath people. It's just I just don't have time to waste with crappy situations
yeah,
because they don't move me.
yeah,
Nobody can move me if they're not talking about anything that's important to me. And so I try to surround myself with people that move me and make me think. Not I don't have to have all the answers in the conversation, but I do like people to make me think
yeah.
because in thinking you create solutions. If you're stagnant and you're comfortable, um, sometimes it's almost like you don't have a pulse and nothing connects with you because you're so used to being on autopilot.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, like you were saying, a lot of the stuff that we feel like we might have failed in, not necessarily failure, it's a lesson in it. And if we can get the lesson out of it, then that's the thing that people want to hear. They want to see like how did you go from here to there? I mean, just like what you were saying, about it's kind of like you get to a point like you just don't care about what folks say, but then it's like I don't want to hear about foolishness either. So it's like if you bring me foolishness, I don't want to hear that either. But being vulnerable, just like how I did after my dad passed, and I wrote an article about him. I wasn't even planning on putting that out there, but it was like maybe other people going through the same situation. Let me just go ahead and put it out there. And when I put it out there, it it kind of got a life of its own, and
Yeah,
so many people reached out to me, and it's like, oh, they helped them and all that. And like I said, that was the whole reason. It was like, hey, this is what I'm going through. Maybe you going through this. Let me share this, and then so just like with the value part, some people they want to have conversation about some things or they want to do something, but they got to see somebody else do it first before they give them the courage to do it. So some things is like even though you look for some other people to do it, you might have to be the first person to go out there and put it out there so other people feel comfortable about it too. And so that's sometimes the value you have is just you sharing your experience and they allow
yeah.
other people to share theirs too.
Yeah, because people see the powerful in your experiences. They were like, man, Terrence, it took real courage for him to share, that loss and that pain and that
Mhm.
traumatic experience. And, they resonated with that. And then they were like, okay, well, if Terrence can write about it and he can talk about it, he's still in pain, but he
Yeah,
learned to turn that pain into something different. And
yeah,
he created a great piece in writing, which ended up getting published. And
mhm,
end up, touching, several people, lives. So that's out there and it's in existence. So as long as it's in existence, people can always go read it and they
mhm.
can see how you turn something that was painful and something into something that was powerful. So you, in essence, learn to flip something. You took the negative of a situation or experience and you flipped it into something positive and you remembered all the times and experiences you had and you learned that, hey, I never can lose my memories, even
Yeah,
though I may have lost the physical presence,
yeah,
but the memories, they live on. And I can always recount the memories,
mhm.
and so that can bring peace, that can bring understanding, but that can also bring clarity.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like you just like the saying is, you never know what people going through. But the other piece of it is having a space to have certain conversations and make them normal. And that's one thing. Like certain conversation people shy away from. It's like grief, or people don't really know how to talk to you or respond
Yeah,
with grief. You know, they're like you get the standard like, oh, it's gonna be okay, or whatever like that. And that's fine, but sometimes you need to know as people that really understand what they really feel like to really make you feel a little better about it. Because
yeah,
some stuff is not easily explained. You don't just pass by you for like, oh well, take it one day at a time and all that. Like I get that, but this is how I'm feeling, and I need to know other people feeling like I'm feeling, and it's that relatability. That's what people need too. They need to see people or connect with people that have a shared experience. It might
yeah,
not be the same, it might not be the same circumstances. But it's like, all right, you see me, you hear me, you get what I'm going through. And like I appreciate you doing that because like that's something I didn't know I needed. Like I was
yeah,
going through
yeah.
this, I didn't know I needed it. Yeah.
No, and especially in the work that we do, my work as a wellness person or the life doctor, it really took off when I understood the power in telling people your story.
Yeah.
And so, I used to work a lot with trauma, PTSD, sexual trauma. And what I learned in there is, the avoidance in dealing with, your trauma and your pain, um, you know, how we learn to manage it, over time through different coping mechanisms. So one of the things I learned to do, I learned to tell people stories about, trauma, that I've experienced and, what it was like. And so a story I used to share with people is the first time we lost somebody in combat, and I, you know, showed them a story about me being in the room with all these men, and everybody in the room was crying, and me not being comfortable with who I was, I'm looking around the room and all these men crying, and I can't cry because I didn't think I was man enough. Well, I didn't think if being a man I couldn't, cry. So I
Yeah.
just had to look around and I didn't
You
give
like, why
my
y'all crying? You like,
yeah
why you
I
crying?
didn't I couldn't give myself permission to experience this trauma and this a normal reaction to trauma. I kind of just tucked it inside, and for years I just kind of kept things inside and learned not to, experience the emotional connection because of being afraid where it could take me. But
Mhm.
where it really took me is, healing, but it snapped a light bulb on in my mind and it showed me the easiest way to help people heal was sometimes telling them stories to connect with my experiences, but teaching them how to connect with their experiences. And then they was vulnerable and strong and courageous enough to take the next step on that journey to healing. Now it wasn't a fast process, but it was a process that everybody appreciated, and I was on that journey along with them. And so basically It was showing people they had enough value within to handle whatever they would face if they decided not to run from it and stick out the challenges of that tough, part initially to get to the more rewarding part of, getting their life back and doing all the things they once enjoyed doing.
Yeah, yeah, because just like when you said, I don't know why I got that vision, but it's like some people we professional track stars in our life. We get to run it. We run all the time.
Yeah,
We'll never really deal with anything. We just run from thing to thing, person to person, or whatever like that. And you can't outrun yourself. So
yeah,
whatever you are, you gonna be. I don't care where you go, you move, whatever, you gonna still be there. And so it's like sometimes the value is the value of actually sitting and feeling what you feeling and being okay with it, whatever that is. Because some of us, that's our problem. We don't want to feel,
yeah,
and we devalue that too. Because like your emotions not bad, they trying to signal something to you.
yeah,
So if you keep avoiding them and not dealing with them and doing all that kind of stuff, you doing yourself more harm than anything else because it's value in that too. Like even if it's stuff that's painful, you don't like to feel it. It's a lesson in that.
yeah,
And if you don't take time to really identify, like, all right, why am I feeling like this? Okay, what is this about? All right, what are they trying to teach me? And not necessarily blame it on somebody else, like, oh, such and such did this. This why I'm feeling this way. Oh, this person left. This why I'm feeling this way. Like, no, nah, okay, but why are you feeling this?
mhm,
What is it? Why you having a reaction to it like that? And that's being, aware. It's like being more aware of yourself because you, like I said, they're like me. Anything that go on with me, I need to be an expert on myself because I live with me 24/7.
yeah,
Like people around me, they got various degrees or like how much time they spend around me. But if I wait for other people to tell me about myself, I'm wasting time because I need to be able to tell myself about me because I live with me. You know what I'm saying? I see
mhm,
me all day long, so I should be the one that know me in and out. Versus trying to get that validation from other people and say like, "Hey, what you think about me? Hey,
yeah.
all that kind," and always seeking outside of people, out of yourself to kind of get your
Yeah.
value too.
And that's the new shift in wellness is helping people be experts on themselves, but helping people see the patterns whenever something comes up. Our dominant posture to deal with things is to you know is to run. When anytime something happens, we can immediately run emotionally, or we detach from the situation. And sometimes the best thing for it is to absorb every emotion that comes with that, however long it takes, in order for you to shift to a better you, and not let that same thing be plaguing you 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 15 years from now. I give people a lot of free information. The reason that we struggle with things for so long is sometimes because we emotionally shut down, and we don't allow ourselves to really dissect our experiences, and but to learn from those experiences. You experience the same things in different ways over and over, but we don't connect the dots with them, because we're in every situation we experience, and we
Mhm.
forget that because we always it's something you mentioned earlier. We always look at what others did or how others impacted us, and we forget that we're the common denominator in every situation. And so we don't learn that, hey, maybe I need to shift something that I'm doing that would change something for me, or break a pattern that I may need to break. And so that's really when you learn your real value, is you have the power to break the labels and break the
Mhm.
patterns that have plagued you. That's real value right there, and nobody can give you that value. That's something that you have to understand, and you have to like decode.
Mhm.
Imagine that all your experience was like Morse code, and at some point you figure out how to do Morse code, and you're like, oh, well, it was that easy, or it was this simple for me to just pay attention to the signs and then recognize what it is. But
Mhm.
we don't take a deep dive into ourselves because we're superficial in the context that we like to stay on the surface with things instead of going deep. Because what happens if I go deep? I don't know how to control it, but I know how to control surface.
Yeah. No, so I had one visual, but then you brought me to another one. We're talking about digging deep. So then that made me think about, like digging up treasure, whatever. Like to really get some value, you got to dig for it. You got to get down into the ground to unearth it. And so for a lot of people, they don't want to go through the process of really unlocking their true potential and really getting to the core, like what's valuable about me. And like I say, it's not from a superficial standpoint, not like look at the clothes I got on, look at this,
Mm.
look at my, persona. It's just like knowing that you as a person is valuable and your presence is valuable versus just how can I make people like me? Because that's a whole different thing. Because a lot of our lives have been there. It's like, how do I maneuver? How do I go through life to make people say like, "Hey, you doing a good job. Hey, this, that, and hey, give pats on the back." Because sometimes that's a trap too. So it's
Mm.
like it's being able to balance things out. So it's not saying like you should shy away from compliments people may give you or whatever. That's fine, but you can't live to do things and always looking for people to applaud you because that's unrealistic.
Yeah.
But then you don't want to be in a place where you think that nothing you do has value or people think anything about it. So it's like it don't matter what I do, don't nobody care. You don't want to be there either. So it's like being in that middle ground, that balance of like I value myself, but however people feel about what I do, if it's good, that's fine. I appreciate it. If they don't understand, they don't like, that's fine too. They open for that too, and they can say that I have their opinion. But it's like for me, I'm not swayed either way from the praise or the rejection. Like I just try and stay middle ground, and that's easier said than done, but that's the best path to walk because either one of them can get you pulled away from what you really need to do.
No, no, that's good. Because one can, bring you too low, and you devalue yourself, or you have no value.
Hmm.
One is where you have overinflated value, and you've become disconnected with your purpose because you think you're bigger than your purpose.
Right.
And anybody that's bigger than their purpose, when they fall harder than someone, that understands their purpose, and they have more balance. Balance allows elasticity. It allows you to be flexible, but you understand that the highs and lows come with life aren't permanent. A person that's always high, you know, you know, they fear, being brought down to a different level.
Hmm.
And a person that's always low, you know, they don't think they could ever come back up.
Right.
And so, we have to remember that, nothing is permanent, but we have something that's important that we have to offer to other people. We just got to learn to give it every day, whether we get something in return. Because I think that's one of the things that cripples us when it comes to value. We think what we have to give, we have to receive something in return.
Yeah.
If you put yourself in the right environments in communities, you're automatically going to be connected to people that you're giving something to, but you're going to be connected to people that you're receiving something from. And those can be mentors or advisors, but you also can be mentors and advisors to someone else because you can inform them on your situation. So you don't have to be an expert to inform somebody about something that you've gone through. If you ever been in a house fire, or if you ever been in a hurricane, it's certain things that that somebody that hasn't been in a house fire or hasn't been in a hurricane know. And so you can speak intelligently about that situation and give people tidbits of information to help them survive and overcome. So that's being an expert. Expert is just you recognizing what your experiences are and you learning from the experiences instead of downplaying what your experiences taught you.
Yeah. And the other part, so you could be an expert in the area that somebody else is an expert in too. So that's the other thing. So just because somebody else has a similar experience or similar knowledge doesn't mean they have the similar perspective.
Mm,
So you can have different angles in the same thing. So just like I might have been in the house fire, you might have been in the house fire, but my perspective on it and your perspective might be totally different. So it's not
yeah,
that we can't inform people about it, is the lens that we have with it is a little different. And so it might be, my perspective might have been like, oh well, this is what you need to do to rebuild afterward.
mm,
Your perspective might be, all right, this is what you need is for resources in order to then survive while you rebuilding. So it's like different perspectives. So I think that's one thing. I think just to take it to like more of a business or entrepreneurship standpoint, I think that could be a barrier too, where people feel like, well, somebody else already in this area. I don't know if I can add any value to it because somebody already there, or
yeah,
they do something similar. But it's like, but they might not have the same perspective or the same they might not use the same platform that you do, or they might not reach the same people that you looking to reach. So it's like it's room for everybody and it's room for whatever you have your experiences, but it's like looking at yourself a little different and not judging yourself so much on like your education and your background and all that. All of your life is got value to it and people want to hear about it. It just figuring out, well, what's the best place to start.
yeah.
And yeah,
No, no, it's important, especially in business, and knowing that it's enough out here for everybody. So you don't have to step on anybody to get to the top, because no matter how high you go, it's still a higher level to go. So that's why progress, you never fully get to the end if you understand that it's levels to where you can go.
yeah,
So I may be here today, but I can always get better. And so better, isn't something that you can really see. It's just better is based off my goals and my visions for my life and where I see myself 5, 10 years, 20 years, or 30 years. Better is always gonna change, especially when you get to retirement age. Better just could be me spending more time with your grandkids and resting or taking vacation. It's not better is not a focus so much on achievement. Better is about getting better spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, financially, and purposefully. So that's 7 core areas that you can get better in that can help to the trajectory of life, move in a direction that you want to. Um, a lot of times we just focus on two of those. We focus on sometimes the financial piece, or we focus on the physical piece, and we forget, about purpose. I heard this quote. People often try to, fulfill their potential instead of fulfilling their purpose. Don't
mhm,
fulfill potential, fulfill purpose, because purpose can take you way farther than potential can ever do. You
yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I mean, because I mean, you just look at like if you went back to like when you graduated high school, did you envision yourself being at this point that you are right now?
No, no. I always had a sense of what I was going to do. I just didn't have the vision of how I was going to do it. But I always had a sense of what my purpose was. But the how was the thing that I struggled with the most.
Yeah,
And
no,
so going back to the how, it just it came with some order and some structure in me changing or me getting serious about some things in my life.
Yeah. Now, like for me, I couldn't have seen none of it. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know this was gonna be my path. But I think my pattern has been I've always been willing to shift every couple of years into something different or to challenge myself in a different way. So it's like I have an idea like, hey, this is something I want to try, I want to do. They're like, all right, let's just try it. Let's just see how it's gonna go. And it usually leads to the next thing. So it's like my life, especially career wise, it's been a series of pivots. It's like every couple of years, it's like, all right, I feel like I learned enough. Okay, now I need another growth point. Not necessarily just a challenge. So it's not like I just try and challenge myself because I just need a challenge. I have to continuously learn. And when I feel like I've learned enough in the area, it's time for me to find another. It's almost like I have to once I master some or I become like an expert in that, then it's time for me to I gotta become a student again.
Yeah,
So it's like I keep going through a series of things where it's like I learn my way up to like, okay, I got this. Like, okay, cool. Now let me start over. Let me find something else that I need to kind of like build myself back up because then I think that balances me out. So I won't feel like, oh, hey, look at all this stuff I know. It's like I put myself in a situation where I gotta be back as the student. And I'm not the expert and I gotta learn it and try and do trial and error again in that area
yeah.
too.
Now that's good, and it brings up where we was talking about before we jumped on grounded.
Yeah,
If we learn to float back from student to expert, that's two ends of the continuum. We
yeah,
always keep balance, but we always move forward because we never get too big as the expert that we can't jump back to student and learn something else. Because a lot of times we learn from the people that we're surrounded with. So
yeah.
I might be the expert, but I got to jump back to the student to soak up this knowledge to
Mhm.
use as the expert again. So I'm
Yeah.
the expert, but I'm the student. And we learn to use those roles simultaneously. And that's when we really, become more relatable, but we become more relational and intelligent. Because two types of people, if you can learn to bring them both together, emotionally intelligent people and relationally intelligent people can shift faster than someone just that's crystallized intelligent to just focus on their smarts, because if you just focus on your smarts and scholastic, it's all about achievement.
Yeah.
But if it's more relational and emotional, it's about experiences. And we learn two ways: we learn through instruction, or we learn through experiences. And a lot of time, if we don't learn by instructions, by what people tell us or they're trying to teach us, we're gonna have to go through those experiences ourselves to figure out the answers to the questions that people was already trying to give us. So
Mhm.
again, we have the answers to a lot of the situations we go through, but we don't trust ourselves or we don't believe ourselves that we have them.
Yeah. And that's the confidence piece. Um, and that's something that, we had to learn early on when we were kind of learning how to do what we do. Is like in order for you to affect somebody else, you got to be confident in what you bring to the table, not in an arrogant way, but that's when people can believe you when they know it coming from an authentic place, and you confident in like how you want to help. And it's like that's where the trust with yourself has to come in because like if you want to do something for somebody else, you got to trust yourself enough that you can do it.
Hmm.
Not necessarily knowing how you're gonna do it, but you gotta trust that okay, I got the builders enough to do this to even try. And let me
Yeah,
step out here, let me see what this, might lead up to. And I think that's where people get stuck in. It's like, well, I don't know enough to try.
yeah,
If you don't trust yourself enough to say, like, hey, I can figure it out along the way, then you'll never start. Because like I said, it's plenty of things. And like I said, like we went back to like the first live we did, it was rough. It was rough. You know what I'm saying? But hey, we tried it, we did it, and it was like, okay, let's figure this thing out. Let's kind of keep working on it. And it over time it got better and better and better.
yeah,
But even the first attempt, it wasn't necessarily bad, but if you look back at it, you like, oh, we came a long way from
Yeah.
that.
So and so that's what we tell people. Like it was uncomfortable being in front of the camera and talking to people and people seeing you in a different way than you normally not used to giving people. But what was always pure was the content and the message. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things when you talked about, we enjoy what we do so much until we give it away. We give parts of ourselves away for free, and that's reality. I mean, we got over 100 and some, Facebook live discussions where we're just giving people free information, not because we're trying to, capitalize off it, but we want to change how people look at the wellness profession, and because everybody don't need therapy, but everybody can benefit from a discussion or a conversation on how to shift, you know, their current status. And so sometimes it may be, a workshop, it may be a video, it
Mm-hmm.
may be a live where people find the answers that they're looking for, and they're like, oh, okay, well, that's what this really means. And so, we don't mind giving that away because at the end of the day, you know I love it so much that I would really give it away for free. And what people don't recognize is so many pieces of information in these discussions. If they just take time and just break it down and apply it to their lives,
Mm-hmm.
um, and if they use it, you can become a better version of yourself. But you have to know how to, access that part of yourself and get in touch with that part of yourself in order to, do those things.
Yeah. Um, and like I said, I think it's sometimes the how or the information that's not the issue with people. Like a lot of people, they like to hear the information, but I think the application is the thing that people are afraid of because just like we know, like we take it to a spiritual standpoint. Like it's one thing to like read your Bible. You can read your Bible all day long, but you don't really get the value out of it until you apply it. So like it's the same thing. Like people could listen to live, they can listen to like what we talking about, but until you start to kind of apply some of the things, you won't get the value out of it because it's gonna require you to do something
Yeah.
and take action. And that's what that's just like with anything, like I said, I done read a whole lot of books and all that kind of stuff. But the things I get the most value from are the things I read and then I apply. And that's the whole thing. Like if you consuming information, you want to be able to consume stuff that you can later on apply. Because that's how you benefit yourself. Because if you just reading it to read it or just consuming to consume it, it's not gonna give you the benefits that you want. So that could be the thing too, is like if you want to do something different in your life or you want to feel like your life has a lot more value, then it might just be start applying what you already know.
Yeah. And then the quickest way to see, or the quickest way to recognize your value is to start writing down your strengths, and how you see yourself. You know, don't go from the lens of how other people see you, because the other people may not see the real you. They may see the imposter, the person that you pretend to be to move forward or to blend in. You know, write down the real parts of you, and identify your strengths, but also identify your areas of growth. And that's one way to start recognizing your value and know that you have something to offer. I do a lot with leadership, because in my opinion I'm a servant leader, but I lead by going to the lowest level and showing people that I will be at that lowest level with them, and then I give them a part of my job in teaching them a part of what I do, so they understand that is something bigger inside of them if they just see it. you know so nobody expected me to be here today in this capacity, because I didn't see myself. But if I see myself doing something and I do it, then that gives people a glimpse that, hey, if he can do it, then I can do it too. Because
Yeah.
again, it's nothing special and dynamic in the
Mhm.
context about me, except for I'm unwavering in my efforts to be better. So it don't matter if I fail at something. I'm just gonna, scratch it and come back again and redo it. And so, um, I don't care about not succeeding the first time, because eventually, as long as I get there, I accomplish what I set out to accomplish.
Yeah, and it's that it's paired like dedication. It's a you have to have a passion for it. It's almost like it's more like commitment to something.
Mhm.
So if you committed to it, you committed to it no matter how the day to day of it looks, because that's gonna change. Some days might be better than others, but it's the commitment to it. Like, I want to see this thing through, so I'm committed to it, and I'm committed to the things that may not make me feel good, or the time that I might want to give up on it because like it's just a lot. But it's the that builds your character, because it's one thing to get something that you didn't have to work for. It's another thing to like bring some all the way through and bring it through a process, and then it starts to take flight. You get a certain rewarding, feeling from that, because like it was your efforts that helped move that along. It wasn't somebody else that's like, and not saying that people won't eventually come in to help with something,
Yeah,
but you have a personal connection to something, it gives you, it's like a ownership stake in it. It just, I mean, the same just like buying a house. When you renting something, it's different than when you own it and you paying the mortgage and everything is your responsibility.
yeah,
It's different. It's a different feeling, and so it's like that's that's kind of how you want to be with your life too. When you take full ownership of your life, that means that it might be a little harder sometimes, because it's like it starts with but it's more rewarding too, because all your growth and your process, you were part of all of it,
yeah.
and you kind of made that go forward. So
No, no, that's good. People gonna always seek great things in you. I think you have to believe the great things that people see in you for you to be able to take the next step. So just because other people see great things in you don't mean that you're gonna do great things. When
yeah,
you can see the great things other people see, then you will do great things. Because it's taking it from an external point to an internal point of you being the dominant person that directs your path, and not focusing on what other people have to direct your path. So you're the missing ingredient to your life. The
yeah,
more you add you, the authentic you, the more you start going in the direction that it was meant for you to go on. The more you water down the real you, the less likely you are, with fulfillment and satisfaction. So that doesn't mean that you won't obtain some success. It's just you won't ever be happy with the success that you've obtained.
hmm yeah. No, no, that's good. That's good. So that brings me to, I think this is the way we can close it out. Is okay. So for you, what's the next what's your next growth points, or like things that you see yourself doing to kind of keep pushing yourself outside of your comfort zone?
For me is, I see myself, talking to crowds of kids and being in front of people where I'm at the forefront of changing, kind of how people look at what we do. And so instead of waiting for people to come to us, we gotta, be there wherever they are. So I gotta be everywhere that people may need someone like me. I gotta be where they are. And so whether that's online, whether that's in person, whether it's on radio, in whatever capacity it's in, I gotta fill those gaps and fill those voids, and show people the new way, um, to I guess face what they're meant to face, and how to heal from what they're meant to heal from, but empower people to know that they have the resiliency inside of themselves to bounce back from whatever they encounter. So I got to be like whatever that Visa, Mastercard, or American Express commercial. I got to be everywhere people are, and I know that. And so now it's just you know taking that responsibility and carrying it out.
Yeah. So what do you have that people can get involved with right now?
Man, oh, I got a million ideas, but I mean, so it's different, workshops and master classes that I do. So no junk food conversations, convos with couples, emotional wellness, where I just help people identify their next steps by becoming more aware of how they got to where they are at this point in time, and then making conscious decisions to make the shift, and remove whatever is holding them back. So, and then of course, I do individual therapy too, but most of the people that I want to bring to me are going to come in the masterclass, workshop, some type of training aspect where I can reach more people at one time. I can reach one person in individual, therapy, but I may can reach 100 people just doing a workshop or doing a master class in 1 hour, and still give them the same level that I of myself that I give somebody one on one. And I think that's the shift. You know, Showing people the innovative strategies and ways to focus on wellness, um, instead of just a traditional model.
Yeah. And you got to come up with couples too that you
Yeah,
can.
yeah, combos, couple, yeah, yeah,
I'm trying to get you to pitch these things. I'm trying to get you to go and talk about this stuff you got.
man.
So
Sometimes I forget about some of this stuff.
I know that's why I did it. So for me, it's um it's like balancing my more like I guess like what I know from my experiences versus my creative side. And I think for me, I'm I'm more of a creative than I am like a mental health professional or whatever like that. Even though most of my experiences have been in mental health, but for me, it's like creating systems that help people, whether that's like online course, path to purpose. So that'll be rolling out where people get involved with that, but also I got a real passion for helping people that want to create things to help other folks. So I'm looking at ways to do that in a more targeted way, and helping people really do that or frame their ideas out. Because I think that's in order to really affect change in a large way, it's going to take more people to do that, but in more of like a collective. So that's something I've been starting to do now is connecting with other people that's kind of in those spaces, and it might not be in the same industry, but and seeing like okay, we all kind of get together. How could we do some at a greater level to really
Yeah,
help communities or whatever like that. So I'm big on that, and then writing. I'm really full embracing that, even though it's something I've been doing most of my life. I haven't really done it to the level that I could be doing it, just like what you were talking about before. And I know that's a way to impact people by what I write and being relatable through that and, telling stories like that. And also, you know, like podcast stuff. So that's my my goal for this year is the podcast, writing, and the online course. That's like my three areas of focus because I think each one of them can bring a lot of value and insight to people. But I want to do it in ways that it doesn't feel like it's so heavy. It's fun.
yeah,
People enjoy it. But it's about changing people's lives. I mean, that's the goal. It's not just to get people to pay for something. It's like having real outcomes that change people's lives and get them to where they need to be. And I think that's the goal. I mean, true enough, business. I mean, you still have you have a bottom line, but if people not getting changed by what you provide, is like the money won't make that worth anything. So
Yeah,
it's like balancing those out, where it's like providing things that really help people, and then bringing in enough revenue to really give back like we want to. And that's something like we've been talking about for years. Is like really doing things to help the community, but having the funds or access to the funds in order to do that the way we want to. So it's like it's not really about the money aspect. It's like how do we scale to a certain point where we can do the work in the community like we really want to, and that's the that's the aim. So
yeah,
that's the overall goal for our progress. Is like we progress or we help other people progress, but ultimately it's for our communities to progress.
yeah,
And if we don't do that, then that's we're not investing in the next generation. And so I
yeah.
think that's the most important thing.
Nah, it's good. So you gave three, so I named my three. So masterclass is one way, leadership is another way, and then um, the wellness model. Um, changing the narrative and shifting people to uh, I won't say faster way to address their pain points and heal, but giving people multiple avenues in the wellness model to address what they have. And like you said, you mentioned the podcast. That's a way. Um, but then doing live stuff, writing content, writing books, all of that falls under the umbrella of wellness. And so it may be 10 lenses under that model, but those are three ways, that I want to impact, the community and affect change and impart the information that, is given to me.
Yeah, yeah. So it's still, I think, just with anything, especially with progress, is our progress leads everything else. So like the more we continue to get outside our comfort zone, then the more, I guess, the quicker other stuff can move forward too. So it's a continuous kind of like, all right, what's the next area I'm afraid of? And let me go ahead and go right into that part. And continually doing it over and over again. So yeah.
Mhm. Well, we definitely appreciate everybody that joined us today. You have value too. Hopefully, you understand or have a better sense of what your value is, or how to start the process to recognizing your value. Terrence and I will start jumping on periodically, um, just to have these conversations, and just to give back in ways that we used to give back in. But again, if you need to reach us, you can contact us on our website. You can contact us via, our Facebook page, the LinkedIn page, or you could just message us on one of our social media platforms, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. What else we got?
Well, we got Pinterest, but we don't really do that, right? We got a lot of stuff that we not own all of them, but that's those the main ones. What he said, the main
Okay. And again, one of our main jobs and initiatives we take, we want to make people think, and we want to help people move forward. But sometimes asking questions is just the start. So again, we appreciate y'all, joining us today. And we hope to see y'all soon in the near future.
one. All right.